Welcome to the Love Deep Lab podcast, helping you integrate sex, sexiness, sacredness, and science in your life and your bedroom. And now, your host, Dr. Stormy.
Hi, I'm your host, Dr. Stormy. Thanks for tuning in today on the Love Deep Lab podcast. Today, we're going to talk about one of my very favorite subjects, although I have a lot of them, but conscious kink. And you might be wondering what conscious kink is. We're going to get into that. We're going to talk about the benefits of it, and we're going to give you a few ways to begin to practice it. So this is whether you're single or partnered, because if you're partnered, how do you approach conscious kink? Maybe introduce that with your partner or partners. And if you're single, how do you start to explore this for yourself and be able to communicate that with a partner or potential partner or partners? So they say that novelty is the spice of life, and conscious kink is one amazing way to bring spice, novelty, imagination, creativity, and personal growth and development to your sex life. Yep, personal growth and development to your sex life. So not having our growth be separate from our sexuality, but having our growth be very much tied to sex and sexuality. And so basically in that, under that definition, a lot of BDSM, neo-tantric practices, and shibari would all be forms of kink. And then there's others too, but it's really having our sex and sexuality be part of our human growth, be part of our personal transformation, and be part of our divinity, our feeling our divine inside of us and inside of a partner or partners. So what is kink? Well, the definition would say a clever or an unusual way of doing something, right? And sexually, they would talk about unconventional sexual tastes or behaviors. Pop culture would say that kink is really anything that falls outside of the vanilla. Includes a lot of experimentation with power dynamics, intense sensations, role playing, but basically lots of things are kink, right? And that varies from person to person. And often BDSM and kink are used interchangeably. So conscious kink combines explicit sexuality with personal healing and growth. And that already is taboo in most of our culture messaging, but it's totally possible. It's totally there for you. And it's totally life, love, and sex changing. So in conscious kink, it is always consensual, and it's a lot of play. And there's a playfulness to it too that I love, that brings that playfulness, that creativity, that spice into partnered sex. But you often a lot of play around power, around connection, around mystery, around again consensual. But the conscious part is it's heart open, full presence, deep sensation, and interested and concerned about the transformation of yourself and your partner or partners. It's also trauma-informed, right? It's a do no harm, because unconscious kink can just be another unconscious patterning for working out our trauma and our trauma responses. And conscious kink is a really beautiful way to get in touch with your needs, wants, and desires sexually. Be confident and sound in communicating them to a partner or partners, and really claiming our desires and therefore our truth. So what are some of the benefits of conscious kink? Well, we get to know ourselves better. We get to know our partner or partners better. So there's that kind of intimacy and self-exploration. Also, greater connection to ourselves and to our partner, to our own needs, wants, and desires, and to theirs. Also, being able to be in tune energetically, emotionally, sexually with our partner. And that is such sacred, divine space, right? And we get to play with power dynamics, right? So knowing when to lean into power, lean into dominance, or surrender into submission. And not just in the bedroom, but also outside the bedroom. Like maybe you're gonna dominate a project, or you're gonna surrender to life. So there's this really beautiful place to play with dominance and submission and switching of those roles. It's also a great way to have fabulous sex, to have greater orgasms, deeper sensation, releasing energetic and physical blocks, and then really practicing self-love and acceptance and partner love and acceptance. It's such a beautiful place for that. And often in kink and in the consensuality of the scenes that develop in conscious kink, can be a healing of caregiver wounds, of trauma. And again, this is in consensual trauma-informed kink, so that we're not re-traumatizing or re-triggering ourselves or our partner. But a lot of healing, a lot of really deep healing can happen in the conscious kink world. It's an incredible tool. And I'm really excited for you all to just hear about it, listen, and see if it sparks an interest. See if it's yes, that's a yes for me, or that's a no for me. And again, bringing self-compassion and care to whatever it is for you. But I think kink gets a bad rap because it's not always conscious. So what we're talking about today is conscious kink. And again, it's such a great way to bring in creativity and intention to your sex life. Also to bring in novelty and spice and playfulness. And it's such a beautiful thing for couples to do. And if you're single out there, a lot of these practices I'm going to recommend next, kind of to start practicing it, you can do when you're single, and then you start to know your own desires, wants, wills, and won'ts, and things like that, and how to communicate them with potential partners. And again, it's a really tender space. How do you communicate your fantasies or your desires to new partners or potential partners? But we'll do a whole podcast on that. But this work is also for you if you're out there and you're single. So how do you start to practice conscious kink? Well, communication. And you all have heard me say this so many times, but communication is key. So how do we communicate with our partner? And we start by starting. So getting yourself grounded, approaching your partner from a grounded place, not, let's say, in the heat of the moment or intention, or maybe if you're feeling rejected or you're feeling like your sex life is kind of meh, but in a moment of connection to say, hey, babe, this is something I've been exploring and thinking about. It really is a turn on for me, and I'm really curious to hear if you're open to it. And if you're not, what's the no for you? I really want to understand that. So really bringing that curiosity, the groundedness, and the active listening, but start the communication. Be brave in saying that this is something you're interested in exploring. And again, we're going to start small. That's the next tip. Start small. You don't have to start with some massively big, elaborate, dungeon sort of scene, although that might be your jam, but start small, right? So then that can take down the barrier, the fear, the barrier to starting, the feeling like, oh man, I have no idea what to do. Because mindfulness is a part of Conscious Kink, the beginner's mind, if you are new to this, is a beautiful, amazing place to be. So those were two things. So start the communication, start small. I also recommend wants, wills, won'ts list. Wants, wills, won'ts list. You can Google them. Lots of different teachers have one. I will be creating one as well. So you can stay tuned on our website for that. But it's basically just Google wants, wills, won'ts list. You go through and they're lengthy, right? Some things that you were like, I don't even know if that's a thing. Well, it is a thing. But you're going to write whether you want to, you will, or you won't. Okay. And then you can compare that with a partner. What are their wants? Where do you align on the wants or the wills? And then where are your won'ts? Because that's a no for your partner or for you. Okay. So wants, wills, won'ts is a third great way to start. The other thing is definitely having safe words, right? So people talk about safe words, right? It's a word that you and your partner or partners agree upon before the scene begins, that tells whether yes, keep going, slow it down, or stop, hard stop, right? And I love safe words. I recommend safe words, but for many people, it can be a little bit like, wait, which one's which? And it gets very confusing. So I also recommend green, yellow, and red. Okay. So green, saying green to your partner means yes, keep going, and you can let the intensity build. Yellow means you can keep going, but no more intensity. And red means stop now, too much, stop now. And red is not negotiable. Red is a stop now. Okay, so that can just be an easy way so that you don't feel intimidated by safe words. And then you'll develop your safe words with your partner or partners. And then the last tip to get started is aftercare. So aftercare is what you do with your partner or partners after the scene to continue to foster that depth, that connection, that healing. And so that's going to look different for every couple or couples. But learn what is your aftercare going to look like. You agree to that beforehand. And then you can always reflect on how did the aftercare feel? Was there something else that was missing? And aftercare is a really beautiful, tender way to come together in connection. You might just decide to reflect on the scene. You might decide not to. But what is that going to look like, and being really clear on that. So those are that's your sexy homework. First of all, get curious if you're interested in Conscious Kink. Talk to your partner and see if they're interested in Conscious Kink. And then try some of these ways if you're interested in beginning to start it. And there's tons of books on it. There's tons of courses on it. I really want to teach a course on it, so stay tuned on that. It's a really beautiful tool that's out there and available, and that adds so much yumminess, spiciness, sexiness, and power to your relationship and to your sex. So thanks for tuning in today and watching or listening. Thank you for being brave and opening your hearts to love deep.